San Marcos police wouldn't bust you for having small amounts of pot on you for the last couple of years. That might be about to change.
Lobbyists. It sounds like a bad word, but we'll introduce you to one who works in the state capitol and show you why there's actually a lot of support for what they do. 250,000 people got to Vatican City, including many world leaders, to say goodbye to the Pope.
Because we want to show our love for our Pope, Pope Francis.
Hi, and welcome to Bobcat Update. I'm Marissa Salcedo.
I'm Lily Frank. We're glad you could join us. More than 8 out of 10 San Marcos voters supported decriminalizing small amounts of marijuana possession in the city in 2022. Since then, local police haven't busted people just for that.
But some other people in law enforcement around Texas never liked that law, including the state attorney general. He sued last year to overturn it. Last week, a judge in downtown Austin ruled against San Marcos and a few other cities which had decriminalized pot.
Reporter Felicity Guajardo joins us with the breaking news on this story. Felicity?
Thanks. Yes, the same judge who overturned the San Marcos ordinance a week ago just voted to overturn a similar ordinance in Austin, which decriminalized small amounts just last year. It was a historic win back in November 2022 when Proposition A was on the ballot. Over 80% of San Marcos voters said yes to change and voted for Prop A. It ended low-level arrests for marijuana possession, the smell of marijuana used as probable cause, and prohibiting public funds for THC testing. Sam Benavides, who led the petition with Mano Amiga for Prop A, said it had a big impact on San Martians, since citations can have ripple effects and can be expensive.
It's expensive, it's extremely inconvenient, all for a plant that over half of the states in our country have now decriminalized. So yeah, I think a great number of people have benefited.
After the election cycle, this didn't sit well with Texas government. In January 2024, Attorney General Ken Paxton sued the city for adopting the ordinance, as well as Austin, Killeen, Elgin, and Denton for adopting similar local laws. Paxton has made drug enforcement a top priority and is joined by Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who proposed and passed Senate Bill 3, which bans psychoactive THC, including Delta-8 and Delta-9. Local hemp farmers and business owners are worried about the people who rely on natural healing for illnesses, like Mark Huron, owner of Modern Day Hemp Company, who says he has customers with cancer using cannabis products to ease pain.
Yes, we get a lot of people with cancer. Delta-8 works real good with that because there was this one lady that had cancer and she tried everything. The doctors gave her everything. The doctors gave her all kinds of stuff and nothing really worked. And she tried the CBD and she came back again. Oh my God, I had the best sleep ever. And the main thing is sleep, because if we don't go to sleep, our body won't heal ourselves.
In recent updates, the 15th Court of Appeals also overturned local law in Austin, decriminalizing small amounts of marijuana. For the same reason, the court ruled that these local laws violate the state law. That's all I have on this for now, but we'll keep following it.
Thanks, Felicity. That's amazing that 8 out of 10 San Martians voted for this. I suspect a lot of people will be upset about this ruling.
Our other big story is the passing of Pope Francis. 250,000 people filled St. Peter's Square at the Vatican during his funeral over the weekend. This is the same spot where Pope Francis made his last public appearance 6 days earlier, riding through a massive crowd on Easter Sunday. There were also lots of important guests inside the funeral, including President Trump, First Lady Melania, and representatives from more than 130 countries. People outside in the square shared what they liked about Francis.
He's just different, really humble. I love the poor people.
He was always ready to give a voice to the voiceless. I feel very lucky to be here.
Francis became Pope in 2013. He was 88 when he died last week, one day after celebrating Easter with more than 100,000 people in St. Peter's Square. State lawmakers just passed another big piece of legislation, school vouchers. It was Governor Abbott's #1 priority for a couple of years. In the last session 2 years ago, it couldn't get through the House of Representatives, but more than a dozen Republicans who voted against it then aren't in the legislature anymore, either because they lost their elections or decided not to run again. Last week, the House passed a bill which creates a $1 billion school voucher program. It will give taxpayer money to families to cover some of the cost of private schools. The governor said he's going to, quote, swiftly sign this bill into law when it reaches his desk. Lobbyists probably played a role in the school vouchers bill. These are professionals who get paid by clients to try to convince state lawmakers to vote for or against certain issues.
Capitol correspondent Eileen Hernandez was at the Texas State Capitol getting the scoop.
Thanks, Marissa and Lily. Love them or hate them, lobbyists are a fixture at the Texas Capitol. And according to some, they are the very reason certain issues even make it to a lawmaker's radar. I caught up with Joey Bennett, a lobbyist who's been working these halls since the 1980s, to find out how it all really works.
What I do is I have a set of clients and I represent their interest in front of the Texas legislature. I take my client's interest, no matter what it is, and I take that point of view and I represent that to the members and staff of the legislature.
Texas lobbyist Joey Bennett says lobbying is often about finding compromise, not just pushing a client's agenda.
Now, one thing I will never do is if it's something I know that it will hurt a member back in his district, I'll never ask him or her to do that. There are some things that you just can't ask members to do. It's a way to really destroy a relationship is you have to remember something that'll hurt them back in their district or for their reelection.
To understand how lawmakers view lobbyists, I spoke with State Representative Eddie Morales. He says that without lobbyists, legislators would struggle to keep up with the volume of bills filed each session.
Lobbyists are necessary. They do a job for their clients that many of them could not be up here on a regular basis to undertake. They follow legislation. They keep us also, many times they educate us on some of these legislative issues that we may not have been aware of. There's over 6,000 bills that we have to review. It's kind of difficult in a very short session. So lobbyists are able to provide another layer of education to us with respect to these bills, and sometimes angles also, arguments and angles that they may espouse to us and may propose to us that we had not even taken into account or considered.
Outside the chamber, one tourist visiting all the way from Germany made a stop at the Capitol, and I asked him, do you think lobbyists corrupt our democracy?
I would say to a certain extent, yes, they do, to a certain extent. But what would be the other way? Imagine a world without lobbyists. Could that work? I don't think so. Lobbyists, in my opinion, they play a role in our democracy. There's always a danger that they corrupt policy. A danger is there, definitely. But on the other hand, lobbyists show the politicians also the opinion of important groups in our society.
Whether you're a policymaker or a visitor from across the world, the message is clear. Lobbyists aren't just influencing government, they're helping shape it. Capitol correspondent Eileen Hernandez.
Marissa, don't look now, but graduation is just around the corner.
I know, that means studying, knocking out some projects, and some important traditions.
One of those is the ring ceremony, where students who ordered class rings take part in an important ritual.
Students who spent the year working on research projects share what they found at a big conference.
And before we graduate, we have to finish our classes. We have tips on how to get through those last assignments and exams.
San Marcos Regional Animal Shelter's mission is to care for, protect, and find quality homes for abandoned and neglected animals. Approximately 6.5 million animals enter a shelter, and nearly 3 million of those animals are adopted each year. More than half of those animals are left in the shelter without a home. Save a life and adopt or foster today. Contact the San Marcos Regional Animal Shelter at 512-805-2650. San Marcos Regional Animal Shelter, protecting and saving the lives of the pets of San Marcos.
There was a different kind of protest at the state capitol last week. This was the local iteration of the National 5051 protest, which called for demonstrations in all 50 states on one day. Hundreds of people gathered on the lawn outside the Capitol on Saturday, April 19th, for a picnic to protest the Trump administration. The event featured live music and political speakers, but it was much quieter than some other recent protests and included kids and dogs. And there's news for students from the Trump administration. Ever since the early days of the COVID pandemic 5 years ago, the Department of Education stopped collecting on student loans that were in default. That meant if someone was late making payments on their student loan, it didn't get sent to collection agencies. That will change next week. The department announced that starting on May 5th, if a loan is late, it will be sent for collections. That means people could have loan payments taken directly out of their paychecks, and it could hurt their credit rating. This only affects older loans, which borrowers haven't kept up with. We mentioned that the end of the school year was approaching, and that means preparations and traditions.
Reporter Grant Hernandez joins us with several stories of final preparations to end the semester and graduate. Grant?
Let's start with one of these traditions. Over the last couple of months, many students ordered class rings to commemorate their time here at Texas State. Those rings arrived last week, and a bunch of students, including myself, took part in a ceremony that kind of includes a dip into the river.
I'm here at Stratham Coliseum celebrating a time-honored tradition, Texas State's ring ceremony. Myself and my fellow Bobcats are super excited to share this special moment with y'all as well. Let's check it out.
Families and friends gathered at Stratham Arena on April 25th to celebrate the sparkling achievement, students receiving their class rings. The event started at 1 p.m. and went until about 3 p.m., celebrating hundreds of students, even some who are graduating this May. Bella is a student who received her ring, and she says that she believes that Texas State has been a great place to be.
Yeah, I think they have a great curriculum. They have lots of resources for you to be able to reach out if you need to. So yeah, I think I'm pretty set up for success.
Students were guided to the court to pick up their rings, but not to open them. Students opened them together during a speech made by President Kelly Damphouse.
So at this time, I'd like to invite you, our ring recipients, to remove your new rings from your box.
The bleachers were filled with cheers as each student was called to take a picture with President Damphouse and do the traditional ring dunk. This is where each recipient dips their ring into the fountain with the water from the San Marcos River. This binds the ring with Texas State and the city of San Marcos. Every parent looked proud and excited to see their child achieve something that solidifies their commitment to their education. Victor Hernandez, my dad, said it was well worth the drive to see this achievement.
Most exciting thing I want to see this event, the only thing comes up to mind is that's my son, and that's a part of us.
As many prepare to go on to the next chapter, the ring ceremony is just the beginning of the end in the approaching graduation. For Bobcat Update, I'm Grant Hernandez. Over 100 Texas State students worked on research projects over the last year, either because of their honors students or they took part in our Texas State Undergraduate Research Center. In addition to finishing up all their courses, the students had one more deadline to meet late last week, sharing what they learned.
I'm here in the LBJSC ballroom where the Undergraduate Research Conference poster showcase is happening behind me. In one corner of the ballroom, a group of students has dedicated their semester to music and its effects on culture.
Some of these students happen to all be in the same class, African American popular music, the study of society, politics, and culture. While they all had the same curriculum, each student had a different take with their projects.
So I found these specific lyrics and how he confronted these issues that are hard to talk about face on, like the fact that a lot of people started listening to him only because he was white. A lot of people would not want that to be like a thing that people know or talk about because it kind of makes you look like you're only popular because of one specific reason.
I found that culturally African American people have inspired alternative music, and I was still very puzzled to see that there are not a lot of black people in this genre. So as you know, I have these artists up here. We have Doechii, Blood Orange, and Solange, and these are very well-known alternative black artists who implement their African American identity into their songs. And this really inspired my reason for writing this paper, and that their well-being and their presence in this industry has inspired other black people and black voices to be creative and continue to, push in this genre and promote diversity in it.
I've found pretty much different areas of the brain are affected by music. And honestly, my most interesting finding is in the nucleus accumbens and how music actually increases dopamine and produces a similar effect to how like addictive substances do. And also in the hippocampus, which the hippocampus in the brain pretty much regulates memories. I also found that it actually helps the production of new neurons in your brain. So when you listen to music that you like, it actually helps build your brain and increases your chance of, not developing memory loss disorders in the future.
Interested in seeing what other research posters are at the showcase? Visit Texas State's Honors College website for a full catalog of each project. This has been Sydney Farr with Bobcat Update.
Finally, before the ring ceremony or the graduation ceremony, or even our famous commencement river jump, we all have something to finish, passing our classes.
Tone down the Red Bull, tone down the Starbucks, have something cool, soft, a vanilla milkshake from Whataburger.
And so really remembering about self-care and taking care of yourself and giving yourself grace can be really important for students during finals.
With exam season and graduation fast approaching, students are working hard to stay afloat. Marissa Salcedo and Grace Reddick made their way across the quad.
I think managing a time is a little bit challenging, right? So before final, I think 2 or 3 days we have to focus on the exam. And I think library is the best place to do that. So I think I find my friends here, we do some collaborative work together, we do some group study, which really can help to pass the exam.
When students are getting ready for finals, I think one of the things that they really try to do is be prepared, but they don't necessarily approach it in the best ways. Doing things like all-nighters aren't really guaranteed to help them any better than if they'd started studying and study like in small bits of time rather than trying to cram it all in. Our brains just don't remember that kind of information that well. And so really budgeting out their time is a more effective way to study, and they're more likely to learn it and be able to recall it during the final than trying to cram it all in at once.
Basically, as a PhD student, we have a lot of pressure in the lab because simultaneously we have to maintain the research work and along with
Forward to seeing you both
studies.
At graduation.
So in the final, during the final, it's become challenging for us maintaining research and study. If I say from my experience, actually I try to focus on exam first, and actually I give less focus on research during my exam time.
I have seen them grow a great deal, and I'm so proud of them. In fact, I was telling some students just a little while ago. Not only do I plan to attend their graduation because I want to see them walk the stage, but I plan to photograph them as well. And I'm kind of excited about that. I really am. I'm looking forward to seeing some of my students
you both at graduation
and wishing them well in whatever it is that they end up going into.
Students, you're right around the corner. Hang in there and keep your head on your shoulders. This has been Thomas Terry, Grace Reddick, and Marissa Salcedo with Bobcat Update.
Now that's all I've got.
I can't wait.
Thanks, Grant.
Of course.
Something else that's wrapping up in the coming weeks, baseball season. Marissa, remember that game up at UT a couple weeks ago when the Bobcats went on the road and beat the Longhorns?
Of course. And I know Texas State hosted UT last week. We were all hoping for a repeat of the win. Reporter Paul Richardson calls the game for us.
The sound of cracking bats filled Bobcat Ballpark all night long during the Bobcats' Tuesday matchup with the #1 ranked Texas Longhorns. Winning this game would mean a second win over a #1 team this season after the Bobcats defeated Texas A&M in College Station earlier this year. The game was a 25-run slugfest, and Texas State got the lead early thanks to heroics from the team's usual offensive performers like Zachary Gingrich and Samson Pugh. But neither of them led the offense on Tuesday. That role belonged to junior first baseman Coy DeFieri, who had 2 homers of his own in the first 4 innings, extending his hot streak. Head coach Steven Shrout had a lot of praise for DeFieri after the game.
The last couple of weeks we've been trying to get him in there more, trying to find different guys in there, and his swing's gotten good in BP and in games and things like that, and inter squads. So yeah, we're just trying to find guys that can get hot at the right time.
After a Chase Morrow grand slam in the 6th, the Bobcats were up by 5 and poised to win their second #1 matchup of the season. But baseball is baseball, and things just fall apart sometimes. After a big 8th inning and a go-ahead grand slam in the 9th, the Longhorns had taken a hold of the lead, and they wouldn't let go.
Had the league going to the ninth against the number one team in the country, and they showed why they're number one, right? But really proud of the guys that competed, right? We competed all night long. We just didn't execute all night long, and so a lot of runs left there, a lot of pitches left there. Didn't play the greatest of defense, but we battled, right? And at the end of the day, you had a chance to win the baseball game, and just didn't make enough plays to get it done.
The Bobcats have a busy week in front of them with another midweek matchup at home against Tarleton State and a weekend series against the mighty Troy Trojans in Alabama. So it's best they put this tough loss behind them. With Bobcat Update, Paul Richardson.
That's so sad that we were leading in the 9th inning but lost.
It is, but like Coach Trout said, the Bobcats hung in there with the number one team in the nation, and they did it twice. That's all we have for this Bobcat Update. We really appreciate you joining us.
But we'll be back during summer semester. Congrats to all the graduates and have a great day.